The fake to Purdy. The quick throw. Nice catch, quick hitter. And eventually hit on the play by St. Juice. It's grabbed by Ayuk on a gain of 9. 3rd down and 7. Williams the block at the left tackle. And downfield they go. Kittle on the fly. 1st down inside the 25. McCaffrey the back, 4th and 1. Use check. Will he pitch it? No, he'll keep it. Yep, there goes the pitch. McCaffrey got it. I don't know that he got it. No. Great play. No. Linebacker David Mayo came and shut the door. Sam Cosme is now playing the right tackle. Lucas is out. 2nd long 6. Here comes Robinson.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to IE Sports Radio. I am Niners Jess, along with Ty Alston, Maddie B, and your girl Bex. What's going on, everybody?
Hey, what's happening, good folks?
Hey.
Hello, friends.
How you guys doing?
Holding it down like 4 flat tires over here.
Telling you,
Holding it.
it's
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Ty. You made it.
No, I was going to say, I made it to Vegas. Someone threw up on the plane, but I made it here, so I can't complain.
Oh my goodness. Well,
You ever heard that Christmas song, Rusty Chevrolet? That's what I feel like this entire day has been. Everything's held together by chicken wire, duct tape, and a prayer, right? Like that.
I've heard that
everything today. I needed to do some like invoice submittals and take the websites down. They're like, oh, it might be. It's been down since yesterday. We don't know when it's going to be back. I'm like, okay, that's fine. Like everything I touched today was like. And then today we had we kind of like freestyled the intro. So honestly, I don't know what fireball could have tonight, gang. So I really don't. So just be prepared for any of the wildest crap that could possibly happen tonight. Just be prepared for it. Okay?
And I do have the Casamigos tequila bottle to the left of me. So you know what? You just never know.
I may need to go get the Gold Bar whiskey. I might need to go break out the celebratory win one, right? Like just take a little sip and turn it around. We've got dead appliances. Everything's crazy.
You're glitchy on top of all that.
You're like
I'm at the at-home Wi-Fi. Mm-hmm. And I'm in the at-home Wi-Fi.
Hey, wow. I'm just saying, you're talking about everything you're touching, not rusty bucket of bolts. Your Wi-Fi is also.
All right. So we have a full show tonight.
Let's get to it.
Oh, there you are.
Raiders beat writer Ryan Sakamoto is going to be joining us at 8:30. I'm very excited for that. It's been a slow news day in Raider Nation world. But right now we're going to
slow. A crawl.
Yeah, very slow. But right now we're gonna. Nope, not a thing. We're going to recap the Commanders game. So, Ty, I'm going to start with you first.
Yeah.
Our run game.
Yeah.
They didn't do too bad, but I felt like they took that away a little bit.
Yeah.
What do you think?
That's what teams want to do. They want to take away the run and make us throw. And whether it was Trey Lance at quarterback, James Arthur, a quarterback, now Brock Purdy, a quarterback. They know the run games are bread and butter. They believe that's what everything is based on from the past. So that's what teams are gearing up to do. And they kind of did a little bit. They kind of got us a little bit. However, Coach Kyle is the man. He says, okay, if you want to pick that poison to take away, we got a whole shelf of poison for you to choose from that we can kill you with. And we saw he did that.
Facts right there. Becca, what do you think?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think we played against a pretty strong defense who was pretty good against the run. I mean, we are still eighth in rushing as a team, as opposed to 27th in passing. So, we're not a pass first team. So all those people who thought that we're trying to be one of those, we're not. We're a rush first team. The first half, I think, they came out and threw whatever they had at us to try and stop the run. And that's exactly what we expected they were going to do. So, of course, we're going to scheme in some Kittle over the middle and, what have you. But literally walking into halftime, tied 7-0?
Yep.
It was, you could tell they brought their A game in the first half. Everything they had, they tried. Second half was over. It was over for them. We figured it out. And, we did get lucky. There were a couple of big passes. One got called back on a penalty. One got dropped. That could have really translated into some big plays for Washington. So, them's the breaks, but that's how it rolls. I think, they played us well, but at the end of the day, we wore them down and we took advantage.
Go ahead, Maddie.
It's funny you mentioned that because I see that all the time. In fact, the first time I started noticing that teams were dropping passes, kind of making out of character mistakes, throwing things off, was really the Miami game.
Yeah.
I thought there were a lot of plays during that game where receivers were open and they just couldn't, they couldn't get it right. And you saw a lot of that this past week as well, and in previous weeks. And you're like, man, it must be bad luck. That bad luck's going to run out. But what I really think it is I think it's the way the 49ers play defense. I think it's some of the things that they do to teams and the way that they bounce back. And of course, you see the record after losses and after playing them and stuff like that. But it's not only that, it's everything. It makes them second guess everything, makes them hesitate, and kind of throws them off the game a little bit.
Yeah.
And that to me is just a sign of them imposing their will right now. And if you kind of look at the way things are going, if they can do that, which they were able to do in the first half against Tampa, but then they were able to do in the second half against Washington, right? You've seen both sides of this coin now. It's not just every week they struggle in the first half and then they're really good in the second half. It's sometimes they do something different, right? In this case, it was they were really good in that second half and they were able to pull away again. And it seems like they have the coaching advantage every week too. Yeah. Look at how they always come out in the second half and how they're playing in the second half this year. I haven't been this confident with this coaching staff and with everything else in a long time, especially in the second half of this team. You're usually pretty edgy and pretty anxious in the second half of this team. And I haven't been recently. It continues to get better.
Usually our we know if we don't come out balls to the walls in the first half, the second half, we're just going to fall off a cliff because that was Niner football for many, many years. But I agree with you, Matt. I was going to say something now. I forgot.
It's more that, you know what I mean? They're missing. They're getting to that 3-score tier, right? We're so concerned about that 3-score tier in the fourth quarter. You need to get to 3 scores with about 7 minutes left. And there's so many times that there's some stupid thing like a blocked extra point or a poor choice on a 2-point conversion or something, and it's still a two possession game with 5 minutes left. You get some situation like you had on opening day against Detroit last year, where they're fighting for their lives after they were up by 24 going into the fourth quarter, and you're like, what is wrong with this team? That stuff hasn't been happening this year. It's been the exact opposite. It's like they've stopped time and reversed it. They've Missy Elliott it, if you will, and really have come back to get that. So you've got that. They're hitting that 37-point mark in the second half as opposed to capping off around 24, 25 points. It's really amazing how switching to a lower round quarterback has opened up this offense a little bit. It's honestly the most bizarre thing I've ever seen in my life, frankly. It's ridiculous.
I actually think that we started off kind of slow.
We did.
And then
this week,
and then the red zone woes a little bit. We were in the red zone 5 times. We came out with 4 field goals?
Yeah.
Yep.
That's where I was going to go before. It's here we go again. We're not going to win championships with field goals all the time. You got to
don't forget the third and longs. Third and long defense.
I saw that.
They killed us again.
So this
it can
go ahead, Matt.
pop up at any second.
Yeah, so this definitely was it wasn't the perfect game. But it was kind of one of those, win by any means necessary, I think. And I know we're going to have those games because we're the 49ers. Why wouldn't we?
Right, of course.
But this Raiders game, which we'll, talk about, it's still an NFL team, so we can't
Yeah.
overlook them. I think, again, I think I say that every week. But I want to talk about my man, George
No.
Kittle.
I was waiting for her to open with that.
Okay.
Wow.
What?
I know it took a little bit longer than
I'm
usual.
surprised you-
I mean, we're out of sorts tonight a little bit. But yeah, my man, George Kittle.
So I feel like when everyone's playing well, George Kittle gets elevated to a new level because now the ball is going to Ayuk. Ray McLeod busted one away. We've got big plays happening with Christian McCaffrey. Juwan Jennings is getting long passes. So of course, now we're going to be able to just impose, as you said, Matt, impose our will. Kittle over the middle. Here's another one. As Kittle said, he grinched that touchdown from
Sure
right
did.
away. So,
Sure did.
And Kyle said today that he was like a little upset that he ran the wrong route,
he ran the
but
wrong
then he
route.
saw the ref put his hands up and he was like, all right, that's good. Good enough for me.
It's fine.
But that shows you.
I'll get Ray later.
Yeah. I talked about how Kittle last week, how Kittle galvanizes the offense. And, I went back and I watched some previous games just to watch him because, there was this talk at the beginning of the season how he isn't doing much and blah, blah, blah. And people forget he missed the first 2 games. So he came back and was working himself into shape. But then I watched some things. The things they're doing now is the same things he was doing earlier in the season. He just wasn't getting the ball.
Yeah.
And exactly, Matt. He just wasn't getting the ball. And remember the story how he went to James Arthur and said to him, "Hey, man, throw me the ball because he's open." I mean, I watched so many plays where he's open and the ball didn't go to him, and he's like, after the play, he's like, "Damn it." You can see him literally after the play, just damn it, because he knew if he had gotten the ball, that would have been a big play. Now he's getting the ball. And one thing that just didn't hit me, and I feel stupid for this, is his football IQ is off the charts. Like that play, I know Kyle's mad. He ran the wrong route. But George saw that the safety was just sitting there flat-footed. And behind him, it's his open field. So he broke off his route in hopes that I'm standing right in front of the quarterback. If he sees me, this is an easy 6. And sure enough, the ball just happened to get there when George was running. I know the ball wasn't meant for him, but that shows his football IQ. Go back to the Arizona game in Mexico. Remember that scramble drill? He looked, he saw the safety standing there, no one behind him. He did the exact same thing. He broke off that route and got open deep. James hit him. This dude is phenomenal in the things that he does. And it's just, best tight end in football. I'm saying it. Best tight end in football.
He is, I agree.
You're certainly not far off on that. And right now, I think you're 100% right with the way everything is going. I think he's finally, Stella's got his groove back, if you will, right? This is kind of at that point. But he's reminding me right now a lot of how I thought the passing game used to always run through Vernon Davis. When Vernon Davis would get that big catch, shit's going down, right? Alex Smith is getting hot. Yeah. And then, at that point, maybe Crabtree will actually get involved, right? But it was usually based off of something to Vernon Davis during that time frame. This offense, to me, seems to be at its best when it's running itself through Kittle. And he's able to make those big plays, and they're looking for him on third down. So it's also going to help open things up for everybody else. And with him being a tight end, especially in this scheme, you really never know if he's running or throwing. Right, like you run blocking or going out for a pass. You never know. So it's not like they can just jam him and hold him at the line and beat the crap out of him. And it doesn't work like that. They never catch him in a situation where he's going to get stuck like in that area. So, and also with having McCaffrey there to move those chess pieces away from that as well, It's really tough. This is a really, really, really tough offense to defend right now. And it's amazing to me that the field has opened up more with Purdy in there. But he sees it differently. Just a matter of fact. Like, whatever he's seeing, he's seeing it differently. Whether he's just trusting the things to be there as opposed to waiting for them to happen, I don't know. But dude's got it. He's figured it out so far.
I got to jump in. He's trusting in the offense.
Yeah.
And he's doing the one thing for years we all said the previous quarterback would do, is to simply take a moment and let the play develop. Right?
Right, and let your playmakers make the plays.
A play isn't fully developed in 2 seconds or less. Right? Sure, that underneath route can happen in 2 seconds, but so much more is happening downfield and in other parts of the field in 2.5 and 3 seconds. If you take a moment and just let the play out and read your progressions, great things can happen. That's the only difference we're seeing right now, is one guy's praised for getting the ball out. He gets the ball out in 2 seconds. Well, a guy's open downfield in 2.5 seconds. If he'd have just waited a half second more, we could have had more. There you go.
Well, but I actually feel like Jimmy didn't see, Kittle open in previous games where we see Brock Purdy seeing these guys open or believing in himself to thread the needle and get it into Ayuk in double coverage or something. So you have a very different mindset, in my opinion, between the two quarterbacks and the way they go about playing the game. It's really fun to watch because he's not only accurate, he sees the throw and he makes it.
There's a lot of anticipation in his throws, and you wouldn't expect that to be there for somebody in the situation that he came in. That's what's so mind-blowing about it. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like Jimmy in this case was like some horrific, terrible quarterback. Like,
no,
it's not like he's coming in and replacing Jim Druckenmiller or somebody like that, right? Like, he's like coming in and he's replacing a guy with 16 touchdowns and 4 interceptions, right? So the guy wasn't too terrible and was a little over 67% with a completion percentage. So, and the offense was running. It wasn't running to the standard that we thought it could be running at. And then he gets hurt out for the year, and here comes this dude, and he's like, all right, let's go. And it turns out like you didn't really have to. It's like you brought your kid bowling and you didn't have to put the gutter bumpers on, right? He's just he's doing the thing. He's bowling strikes, and you're like, this kid's bowling strikes. Like, what's going? Oh, he got the spare there. That's pretty good. And you're like, I don't have to put the bumpers. Okay, I guess I don't have to put the bumpers up, right? And he just keeps doing it week after week. You keep going back and you wait for them to put the bumpers up, and the bumpers stay down. Amazing.
I did want to address this comment by Steve-O. We're not that stagnant 3 and outs anymore. Big plays every game. Yeah, you know what? We do have big plays every game, but it also still doesn't take away the fact that we were in the red zone 5 times and we came away with 4 field goals. That just can't happen.
No.
But I know they'll take care of it, and and field goals are still points, but if we're going to try to win that championship, we need to do something about it.
Our third down conversions have improved. I mean, I think we're doing better on third downs than we had been earlier on in the season. So that's a plus.
I got to look into
I also
that.
like the
I believe
the fact
we've improved significantly, Ty, in our third down conversion rankings.
the one thing I do like is it seems like when we are on third down, even if it's a deal where let's say they're a yard short, 2 yards short, there's a lot more confidence now to get that 1 or 2 yards, as opposed to earlier in the year where odds are they were going to probably call on Mitch Wish to come out and kick one, right? Like, I've seen a lot of 4th and 1, 4th and 2s, even some 4th and 3s where they're like, all right, let's bring them out, right?
They're just going for
even
it.
if they're just bringing them out to try to do the offsides thing, they're still bringing them out. So
I got to say one thing. We failed on that 4th down conversion.
yeah, that was a weird
terrible.
play call. That was
terrible. And
It's
I
it's
gotta
not
say,
always right. You know what I mean? Like,
I gotta say, if James Arthur was out there, the greatest quarterback sneaker of all
Quarterback
time,
we
sneaker,
sneak, baby.
we'd have converted that thing, baby.
you might be right
That's
there.
the
if they
only
could-
set of flowers that Ty gives to James Arthur.
I'm calling him
What
the
if-
GOAT. How much
What
more
if
flowers?
he
That's
could
the whole
come back for the
3K.
Super Bowl just to do a QB
That's the
sneak,
only rose
right?
that he gets.
The only
Yeah.
time he gets to come into play in the Super Bowl is a quarterback sneak.
I did.
But maybe that's
Line
like the one
situation.
play he can do, right? Because he doesn't have to plant; he can just hop in, right? Like,
Get behind the dude.
it's my thought. It's my thought. Keep that in
A
mind.
good one. It's a good one. I like it. Hot take
It is
right
a good
there.
thought.
I did think it was probably the strongest defense that Brock Purdy's faced, and he held up really, really well.
Brian says there should be a show with a shout out to all the Niners starting game quarterbacks and Steve Young. We could make shirts with their name on it.
Troy Smith,
think-
where
Like
are
the
you?
Cleveland Brown team where the person has like,
Yeah.
all the placards
Oh my
hanging off
gosh.
the back of the jersey.
We're not as bad as that.
Yeah, no.
No.
Yeah,
I don't know
the
if you
third
wanna read
down
that,
thing. Jawan's been great on third down.
Yeah.
But since CMC arrived, our
Right.
third down conversions went through the roof
Yes.
compared to
Mhm.
prior to CMC. So, Brock coming in, like I always say, he came into the perfect storm. He ain't got to do much. I mean, I'm doing some research. If anyone out there, I'm not even going to mention it because they're going to steal my ideas. But I'm doing some research that shows you Brock isn't really carrying the load as much as we think he is. Wait till next week.
I'm now
Oh, I don't
genuinely
thi- I don't think
concerned.
he's-
Cliffhanger.
Yeah,
Oh boy.
but I don't think he's carrying the load that much at all.
Yeah, I don't either. I think he's more just. I think he's in the driver's seat, and everyone else is eating snacks at this point, right? Because he's able to drive them so efficiently. This is a road trip. That's what's really
Or-
going on.
Mhm.
He's not in the driver's seat. He's the one eating the snacks. Think about it.
So,
Think about it.
so somebody else is driving for him. This is like an
Auto-
automated car.
cruise
Think
control.
about it.
That's what we're going
Cruise
with.
control.
Everybody's
Think
eating
about it.
snacks at this point.
Yeah. Autopilot.
I was just going to say autopilot.
Autopilot. Now you're on to something.
David
Oh,
says
boy.
since CMC
Listen, bro.
arrived, our points per game is 28.1 before it was 22.
That's because of third down conversions.
The third
They
down
stay on the
conversions.
field more, get downfield more, put points on the board.
They finally actually
that.
used their running back the way the running back is supposed to be used in the West Coast system on
Yeah.
passing downs.
And Matt, you called for it when we started. You
I
said
called
Yes.
for it
something
before
we
even
wish would
CMC
be
was on the
done.
trading block.
Right
I'm
into
like,
the bowling alley.
can anyone please throw the ball to the running back? Like the safe passes to the flat are there all the time in this offense. Even when everything has gone to hell in a handbasket,
Yep.
you can get 3.5 to 4.5 yards in the flat. That's how they got the offense started the other day. Pretty much every week they seem to get the offense started with a 3 or 4 yard in the flat to Kittle or to somebody out there, right? Like CMC in this case. They weren't doing that before. And I didn't figure out why. I'm like, is 3 or 4 yards not good enough to you? Like, I don't get it. Like, let's start off with 3 or 4 yards and go from there. So he seems to just take what the offense gives him. And it's such a tough thing for people to do. Like, they really tried to sucker people into really getting mad about that and trying to push things down. And a lot of quarterbacks just can't do it. They really just want to, I want to take what the defense gives me. Like, they really struggle with that. For some reason, he doesn't. It's been a neat thing to watch in that aspect of it. And maybe that's because it's been programmed into him because he's like a Terminator or something. I don't know. Ty's going to tell us about that next week.
That's right. Tune in.
David said since Glock Purdy took over 4 games, 31.5 points per game, Jimmy Jean, 10 games, average 24. Okay.
And we also, what's the Christian McCaffrey factor in that too?
Yeah. We got to
Yeah.
break it down into context because remember,
If the
there were
CMC
games early in the
factor plays
season. we
into
just
that
struggled.
number, I would agree that
Yeah.
CMC is a big part of that.
Yeah, if it wasn't for Jimmy, like we wouldn't even be here right now, guys.
Yeah.
Like at the end of the day, I don't.
No doubt.
Do we know? I don't know if Purdy would have been your backup. Like I don't know. I don't think you would have had the time to develop as a 3 in the 3-hole, right? Like, I don't think you would have had that. I think he needed that time because then he gets to face his defense in practice for that amount of time. I don't know if he would have been ready in week 3 for that, or week 2 in that case.
What do you think, Ty?
That comment from Steve-O?
Yes.
Oh, most definitely. Most definitely. Because when he came in, he didn't have to learn anything, even though he made that stupid comment about not having a playbook. He just kept the offense moving. So if we didn't shoot ourselves in the foot those early games, we'd be competing for the number 1 seed right now. So I totally agree with it.
Well,
It's amazing to me that Chicago might get the number 1 overall pick, and we lost the opening day. Like that.
Yeah.
By shooting ourselves in the foot.
Like I watch them in the Atlanta games every time, and I'm just like.
Quick side note. Speaking about the Chicago game and how we left, what's his name? Oh my gosh, Dante Pettis wide open.
Yes.
I was watching the Chicago
49ers
game this
legend.
week, and he was left wide open again. And it just occurred to me that he's so forgettable that defense is
just like, wow, he's an eligible receiver.
They're just
He's still playing
literally
football?
leaving him alone on the field, and I'm like, that's how he's productive.
They think he's like a field
Oh my
judge or
gosh.
something. That has to be what it is.
I
Poor
like
Dante
Dante Pettis,
Pettis.
but it's
No
just
doubt.
funny to see it unfold in that way. How defenses just like leave him there, like he's not going to do
It's
anything.
ridiculous.
Oh my
It's
gosh.
true.
Okay,
Well,
let's go.
So true.
Speaking of receivers, Brandon Ayuk. I'm giving him his flowers
Mm-hmm.
because his route running, I think I said this last week or the week before, is just filthy. And for him to get wide open the way he does, we need to get him more targets, and I feel like it's definitely coming for sure. What do you guys think?
How do you get him more targets though, without taking away from others that really deserve it? And it's not that I don't think he's bad. I don't. By the way, shout out to you for pronouncing his name right, unlike Kevin Harlan. Kevin Harlan,
Ayuk?
get your shit
Ayuk?
together. Get it
Ayuk?
together.
Oh my goodness!
I don't know who your spotter was. I don't know who was telling you stuff on air. I don't know if you gave them spiked eggnog. I don't know what happened. But for the love of all that is holy, get the name right, okay?
Yeah,
It's
I
not
don't
like you're
understand.
retired. You do radio every week. You
Right.
know who these guys are.
Yeah.
And it's not
Please,
his
for the
first
love
time
of
calling an
everything.
honor game.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Like he just didn't start getting it right until like the first quarter. That was absolutely bizarre to me. But going back to the original point, Kittle needs touches, right? I think this offense runs
Yes.
better when Kittle gets more touches.
Agree.
Ayuk gets more touches. Do people feed off of that, right? Does it open things up for everybody else? I don't know if you can throw him an extra 1 or 2 touches a game. I really don't, because then you're taking it away from Christian McCaffrey. Then you're taking it away from George Kittle. It's a really good problem
but that's
to have,
just-
right?
it
Now,
is a good
sometimes you're going to
problem
have
to-
to lean, but
Yeah.
like, I can't. I don't
But
wanna
that's what
force anything
happens.
to him.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Right. It's not forcing. It's just
Yeah.
like, because he gets open, like what I mean? Like, it's just, it is a good problem to have. And it's going to happen where maybe it should have went to Christian McCaffrey, but hey, Brandon Ayuk, it's terrible. It's
Ayuk.
terrible the way they say it.
Mr. Ayuk.
Ayuk is open.
I'm just
okay?
calling him Ike from now on, just because.
I almost had to mute my TV when I was watching.
Yeah, I
that.
know it's terrible. It's terrible.
I used to be able to stream the KNBR stream, but somebody actually pays attention to that now.
We'll take it.
Yeah, I mean, if they're for positive plays, I mean, hey, I'm all for it. Melissa said thoughts on Bosa not getting another sack on the failed 2-point conversion because
Yeah.
that's the rule.
Such a dumb
Yeah.
rule. Like,
It is a dumb
how does
rule.
the play not count, but
agree.
it counts? Like, if they get 2 points on that play, I get 2 points on my fantasy thing. If the defense runs that ball back, they get 2 points. If I have
Exactly.
the defense on fantasy, those points scored. So to me, like, the interceptions, fumble recoveries, anything that happens on that should be a play that counts. I don't care what
Exactly.
happens, right?
Yeah.
Like,
They are running.
period, end of discussion.
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't know why that could be counted.
Play. Yeah, they're
No.
running a full offensive play. So
That's how I
anything
felt
that happens
too.
on that play should be counted. Period.
Guy tackles quarterback.
Look,
Yeah.
look at how long it took them to make the sack an official thing, right? Some
Right.
dude had to go back and watch like every game of all time and count up all the sacks to get like Deacon Jones and Fred Dean. A lot of those guys, like their sack numbers were like they didn't know what they had for sacks each week until like I don't know, sometime in the late 70s, early 80s, or some hot garbage like that. Like sometimes the common sense isn't always there. It's like these pylon cameras, right? Like how does not you have legalized gambling right now? You have to have pylon cameras everywhere. And whether that happens in a game against the 49ers or not, it could always happen in a game against the 49ers. Because at the end of the day, what happens to the 49ers all the time? Some sort of ridiculousness, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I want every ounce of technology out there to protect against ridiculousness, or so that when ridiculousness does happen, we can just put the videos up and be like, see, the NFL said this wasn't this, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's the stuff you want out there. And the rule just goes back to that. Sometimes things are so arbitrary, they just don't make sense. And that is one thing that really, really doesn't make sense.
Yeah, and Brian says, on a pat, point after attempt. Things are getting wild over here.
Ty is in Vegas, so.
On a point after, they should count. And I agree, even for PATs, if you tackle a guy, if there's a botched attempt and, the holder goes out to try to throw a pass and he gets sacked, that should count. Those numbers should count. It should be counted as a regular football play. There shouldn't be any difference in it.
I also, real quick, let's do our game balls before we get to our special guest. Go ahead, Ty.
Game ball. Got to go with Ray McLeod. He was out there balling. Got to give him a great game ball. On defense, I know it was a small sample size, but Javon Kinlaw, I thought played very well. You won't see much on the stat sheet, but he did a lot of dirty work in there, and that's what we want to see. As well as T.Y. McGill, Street, and there's a new defensive tackle. I don't really even know his name.
Right.
But they were all rotating in there doing that dirty defensive tackle work that we want to see. And I got to give them kudos for getting it done.
Becca, go ahead.
Ray was my guy too on the offense. I just think he just keeps playing better and better each week. That big jet sweep touchdown run, that was pretty to watch. Very exciting. On the defense, I mean, how do you not give it to Bosa? He's just out there just doing crazy stuff like every week. So yeah, those are my game balls.
Maddie, go ahead.
Robbie Gould, 4 for 4 on extra points, 3 for 3 on field goals. Everything you could ask for and more, right?
That's a lot of
we
points.
Complain about the field goals because at the end of the day, like we want touchdowns.
Yeah.
But if you have a guy who's not making them and then you get nothing, it's like, ugh, boy, don't we suck, right? This case, we don't, right? He cashed in everything. 9 plus 4 is 13. He cashed in all 13 13-point opportunities.
A rare
That's all I can
mistake,
ask for.
though, right? Didn't he get a flag on a kickoff out of bounds or something?
Yeah, that was a weird
one.
Yeah, that
Like
very rare.
happen.
Like you
a
said,
rare
very
Robbie mistake. But yes, Robbie's always solid.
We survived it. The other one I was
Mine-
going to do was Ray McLeod was because of that run. Like he did the thing that like I've been waiting for weeks. Like I figured he'd be getting some of these Deebo Samuel opportunities in the run game. And then he finally got one and he got the speed to do something with it.
Yep. And nod to CMC for throwing that key block too.
Yes. Mine were George Kittle and Javon Kinlaw. Shocking.
I wasn't going to steal George Kittle
Yeah.
from you.
And I agree with Melissa. I got to give some love to Jordan Willis as well. He played very well in the game also.
He did.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh. That must mean our special guest is here.
It's time.
Let's bring in Ryan Sakamoto, Raiders beat writer. I had to play the Imperial March. I'm sorry.
Fine, you're good.
Perfect.
How you doing, Ryan?
How
Can
you
you hear
guys
me?
doing? Yeah, can you hear me?
Doing good.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. You're welcome.
Thank you for having me
Yeah,
on
welcome
the show.
to
I
the show.
appreciate it. Yeah, it's awesome. I just listening to you guys. I really appreciate that you guys are putting in that work, and yeah, it's you guys are doing a good job. So keep it up.
Thank you. Appreciate that. So how's everything going with you? Long time no see.
Yeah, it's been stressful. I know people didn't even know that I switched allegiance and joined the dark side, but once COVID hit, it was like basically an eye opener for I think everyone here, whether you live in the Bay Area or elsewhere. And to be honest with you, living in the Bay Area, the cost of living is very expensive, right? So it's like, okay, so if I, being at the age that I'm at, I was like, okay, if I'm going to start a family and have kids, feasibly, like even though my family, born and raised in San Jose, is it beneficial for me to continue living in the Bay Area or maybe going a different route? And so I still want to stay on the West Coast. And so that's why I was like, the Las Vegas Raiders are right there. It wasn't the most ideal situation at the time, to be honest, because you guys know I grew up as a San Francisco 49ers fan, diehard fan, and so forth before coming the Niners as a beat writer over the course of the last 10, 12 years. But it was one of those transitions from a career standpoint that it was really an easy transition for me because at the end of the day, one, it presented a new challenge, and the opportunity here in Vegas is just that much more greater. Gambling's legal now, fantasy football plays a role. So with my algorithm, my grading systems, as I continue to cover all 32, now I can kind of double down on those gains and really, really make make what I do worthwhile. So yeah, I'm very happy. It's kind of bittersweet because I still have I feel some type of way with the San Francisco 49er fan base, very loyal, made a lot of good friends and continue to make a lot of good connections there, and I'd be happy to reconnect with those guys over this weekend. So I'm really excited for what this weekend's in store.
Well, Steve-O, now you found him. Ryan.
That's what we do here. We reunite people.
Look
yes, all the time. Yeah. You've covered the Niners. You obviously now cover the Raiders. What sticks out to you on both teams?
Good or bad?
Both.
We'll start with the bad and then end with the good. So let's start with the San Francisco 49ers. I really like the way the Niners are handling business. When Robert Saleh left to the New York Jets, there was a lot of turnover from all the coaches, right? Positional coaches and so forth. And so from a 49ers perspective and from the media perspective, we really didn't know how that was going to mesh. Now you had continuity on both sides of the football, but at the end of the day, the schemes are still in line. So to me, it's all about putting the players in the best position to make plays. Aside from that, we hear how fundamentals play a role, where there's certain fundamentals that are being taught different techniques based on the scheme that's being provided. So I liked what DeMeco Ryans brought to the table when he was elevated and became the new DC. I said, this guy's a good hire. Being a roll tide roll guy, obviously, I knew what they had in DeMeco Ryans. Very smart, very savvy, and he's doing a really good job. So a lot of credit has been given to DeMeco Ryans and deservedly so. But I think more so than that, give credit to Kyle Shanahan for believing in his coaching staff to kind of build up and raise these coaches, because he's really building up the homegrown talent from within. I think that's a true testament to Kyle Shanahan and that coaching staff.
So you're not team fire Kyle?
No, who's team fire Kyle? I've been so disconnected. I've been so with the Las Vegas Raiders, but anybody, and I said this, you can check the beast. I call them beast receipts, #beast receipts. Just check what I said, in real time. Like for anyone to say fire Kyle Shanahan, it's like, okay, like based on what? And then I hear people trying to decipher dumb play calling. It's like, okay, well, there's a reason he gets paid millions of dollars and you don't. Like that has to play a role. Like here in Las Vegas, people are saying fire Coach McDaniels. I'm like, that's stupid. Like, I'll be the first one to say that. That's the most ridiculous thing I've heard, because at the end of the day, it's like, one, they're not there. They're not there as a 9 to 5. I am. But aside from that, you don't have to be. All you have to know is, look, they get paid to do a job, and Kyle Shanahan took the Niners to the Super Bowl in 2-3 years time. And look what he did. And now they went back again. I mean, they're going to go back again, technically, I think. So, like, I don't want to spill the beans, but I think the Niners are on that fast track, secretly pulling for the Niners.
That's a very good opinion.
Sorry, not sorry. It's true. I mean, how dare you tell the truth?
But no, it's very, very it's exciting to see, and I'm happy that the loyal ones really believe in what Kyle Shanahan is doing, because at the end of the day, he may be a little bit arrogant, he may be a little bit fiery, he may go for it on 4th and 1 or 4th and 5 or where the case may be, but at the end of the day, he is where he is because of how good he is. And so I think people need to take a step back and really kind of get off their high horse and say, hey, look, maybe Kyle Shanahan is a top play caller. Maybe I don't know as much as I should, because everyone can talk in hindsight. But in real time, would you make that decision? You really don't know unless you're put in that situation.
That's very good.
That's good
I wish
stuff.
everybody would listen. Yeah, we're all Team Kyle. So, of course. It was a slow news day for you, I'm sure.
I'm sure you were bored. Just bored out of your mind today.
Nothing coming out of Raider Nation today.
Yeah. Derek Carr gets benched.
Yeah.
I saw that he actually left the team with permission, so he wasn't a distraction. Denzel Perryman goes to IR, and so does Chandler Jones.
Correct.
What is that now? What does that look like? I'm assuming advantage 49ers.
Oh, yeah.
To you?
Yeah. It's I run grades, right? So I grade every single snap. So when I evaluate players, I don't just go to the box score. And like I said, I grade all 32 teams. So even though I don't technically cover the 49ers as a beat writer, I stay on top of every single game. I grade every single snap. So I watch 67 hours of game film a week. So when you talk about a guy like Chandler Jones, he was kind of one of those guys that, he's not very good in run fit integrity, but he does a really good job in pass rushing, right? That's kind of like what people know him as. But then throughout the first 3 quarters of the season, he really wasn't that guy. It wasn't until the last 3-4 games that kind of picked it up. So the funny thing about this is Chandler Jones, outside of Max Crosby, they don't have anyone else. Like Malcolm Kuntz is not that guy. Tayshaun Bauer has been a healthy scratch. So all these edge rushers that they technically had or thought they had, it was basically Max Crosby and Chandler Jones or bust. And so without Chandler Jones, now you're playing a game of musical chairs. So to your point, in a pass-happy NFL, where the Niners are really good at running the football, right? Because, the running game opens up the passing game. It's going to be really difficult for the Raiders to set the edge, especially on that side of the football. And with Denzel Perryman being the 2-down thumper that he is, and then you roll in guys like Luke Masterson and Darian Butler, who are undrafted rookie free agents, and they're going to get more playing time. To be honest with you, I think the Raiders are – I shouldn't say they're taking it L, because obviously they're going to play to win. But when you lose 2 players like that and send them to IR, the heart and souls of the defense or foundational core pieces, it really puts a hamper on that defense. It's not like the 49ers where they have Fred Warner, Talanoa Hufanga, Eric Armstead, Javon Kinlaw. And I'm not just name dropping household names. I mean, these guys are actually staples of that foundational defense, with Azeez Al-Shaair and so forth. So when you talk about, guys like Dre Greenlaw and some of these guys on the back end, Tashawn Gibson, veteran safety. So the Raiders don't have that. I mean, can you honestly name 5 starters on the Las Vegas Raiders? 99% of the beat writers will say no. Who's the starting cornerbacks?
That are healthy? No, you can't, right?
Right. So that's why I think it's going to be a huge blow to the team. I don't think this game is going to be close. Like, now watch me be wrong and the Raiders pull off an upset win.
Oh God, I hope not.
Yeah.
No.
We got the beast
be a home game for you guys. I mean, there's 75%. I'm thinking 75% Niner fans. So it's a home game for you guys anyways. And I think, to be honest with you, it's a game where you guys should win by double digits. The Niners should win by double digits easily.
How many digits would you say there? Let me go on sports book.
He's
real
already
quick.
He said double digits, and I'm pretty sure the line is 9.5.
Yeah.
Now
So to
it's
me,
10.
anything over 10.
Now it's actually 10.
Oh my God.
Yep.
Yeah, I think it might go over 10, to be honest with you, because if you think about how Coach Graham schemes up the defense, right? And Coach Graham is a great defense coach. I love Coach Graham. Me and him get along really, really well. But he just doesn't have the horses, right? And when you run a cover 5 and which is a 2-man safety concept with man underneath, and you go up against guys like Jawan Jennings, you go up against guys like Brandon Ayuk, and Deebo Samuel's not even in the game. And then you have George Kittle running down the seams. Where are you going to single up or double team? You can't, because you can't double team everyone. So someone's going to be singled up. And with Christian McCaffrey coming out of the flats, that's just going to put a huge stress on the defense horizontally, not as opposed to vertically, because what Christian McCaffrey can do in open space is he's going to get those yards after the catch. And what that's going to provide is going to shorten the game for you guys and keep the defense fresh, because at the end of the day, you're going to be sustaining some of these long drives. And I think that's going to put a real hamper on the Raiders defense. Now, the Raiders defense has some key clogs there in the middle. Kyle Pecco, Neil Farrell, Matthew Butler, some of these rookies that are going to get some playing time. I just don't think it's enough, especially the way the defense has been playing all season long.
See, I want to go back to that for a second in the run game and what you mentioned.
Yeah.
Because at first today in the news, I saw that Derek Carr wouldn't be playing, and I was like, I'm still, worried about the defense a little, particularly them stopping the run, because that's what all teams want to do to us. We just talked about it earlier.
Right.
And losing Jones and Denzel Perriman from the U was the key pieces that I said, oh, wow, this could be a 200-yard rushing game. Yeah. How do you see their backups filling their voids? If you could just focus on them for a second.
Yeah, so Matthew Butler and Neil Farrell, again, two guys I'm very familiar with. Andre Carter, a good friend of mine, played for the San Francisco 49ers, coached Neil Farrell over at LSU, and got to know Neil, great, and along with Matthew Butler. Both those guys are rookies, and so I talked to Coach Graham about it just the other day, and I say, here's two rookies who have been relatively healthy scratches, right? And you guys seen it with defensive tackles. Javon Kinlaw has been hurt, banged up, whatever the case may be. What do you want to see from a progression standpoint? Because from a coaching perspective, they all can say the good things, like, oh yeah, he's good, this is why we brought him in, yeah. That's all fluff. I want to know the meat and potatoes, exactly why this guy's inactive, why he's not playing. And coach just basically was straight up with me and said, look, the NFL is the NFL. You're going up against the top running back in, let's say, Christian McCaffrey. He's one of 32 best starting running backs in the NFL. Whereas if you're a rookie defense tackle, you're 28 of 32. So when you're 28 of 32, as opposed to 1 versus 32, you're going to have to key in on your keys, but then also be fundamentally sound and not giving and leveraging out your space and being thrown off your grass. That's something that, the Niners are going to try to do. And they do a really good job at that, is they'll swing players one way and then use their forward momentum against them, against the grain. And that's why you see Deebo Samuel getting open. That's why you see Christian McCaffrey get open. I mean, you can plug any of us at running back and we'll get 100 yards because Kyle Shanahan is that good at scheming us up. I mean, you can be literally, that's how good Kyle Shanahan is. And that's why I'm saying, like, anyone who says fire Kyle Shanahan, it's like, for what? Like, and the grass isn't always greener. Okay, so you want Sean Payton, you want some of these other guys. It's just like, but then at the end of the day, it's not like, why? Like, you guys are winning. So I don't understand why people. That's the first time I actually heard that people want to say fire Kyle Shanahan. I just don't see it.
It comes and goes. It depends on what the slow start at the beginning of the year. Those people had their voices beating their drum.
Basically.
But as we're winning now, they've all gone away.
Anytime they lose a game or they struggle in some sort of way, Kyle should be fired. Like, they come out of the woodwork, right? It's the same. It's the same thing. Like, whoever the starting quarterback is, if they don't play well, they should immediately be replaced just because they're not playing well during that particular stretch in time. So that's how that works nowadays.
That's awesome.
Yeah, we haven't really heard any of that since our 8-game win streak.
Yeah, surprisingly.
Yeah, and then they'll come out of the woodworks later, and then they'll have like these spreadsheets and everything, like why Kyle Shanahan should be fired. And fans are just, I mean, that's what makes football so great, right? Everyone's entitled to their own opinion. But I think if we're going to have an opinion like that, you need to back it up with factual information, or at least go to the film, because the film never lies. So when somebody says that, I really take to heart, because from their perspective, no coach is not going to do a bad job, right? They all believe they're going to do the best job that they can possibly do. I think the dynamic from doing something like that or making that strong of a statement is you better back up what you say and hold to it. Don't be what I call a triple F. Don't be a flip, flop, or fake. Flip your analysis from real time to hindsight, because once you say it, you said it. You can't say you didn't say it. So I think that's where credibility comes into play. And that's why I'm not afraid to put my beast receipts on the line or my predictions on the line. Because, I mean, we're not all perfect, but more times than not, I get it right. But at the end of the day, it's like, okay, well, I said it and I was wrong. So be it. Like, okay, so what? But yeah, it's just really interesting that people say Kyle Shanahan should be fired.
Well, my part of it is like, he can't actually go out and execute the plays. We've got players hurt, and we were pretty decimated early on, so you can't actually blame. The play is designed to do X, Y, Z. If the players can't go out and execute, that's not exactly his fault. He schemed the right play. They just didn't do what was necessary to to catch the ball or get the first down. So it's always so fun to analyze some of those Fire Kyle arguments.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
So Ryan, real quick, since we're on the subject of coaching, coaches, Jess, sorry to jump in here.
That's
How
okay.
do you see?
Go ahead.
How do you see the matchup between Josh McDaniels and Kyle Shanahan playing out tomorrow? Two offensive guys.
Yeah, it's gonna be a real game of chess. I always talk about football's a game of chess. So if you play checkers, it's gonna be checkmate. You really have to know exactly what the other one is doing before it happens, and you have to stay 2 steps ahead. So, for instance, like going from the Bill Belichick tree, he likes to do the opposite of what you're thinking, kind of like reverse psychology in poker. So if you're going to onside kick and odds are you're going to onside kick, well, then they're going to kick it deep. So that's where the reverse psychology comes into play. Kyle Shanahan and Coach McDaniels are very smart at scheming things up. So they're going to go ahead and attack the weak points of the opposing defense. So for instance, the 49ers, I'll just be straight up. They run a lot of cover 2 shells and a lot of cover 1 and cover 5 and cover 3. But at the end of the day, it's like, if you ever notice the middle of the field, you can attack the outside linebackers, because what happens is you'll have the split end, or you have that wide receiver run right behind or right behind the underneath defender. And Fred Warner sometimes gets caught in this position too. It's just the nature of the beast of being a middle linebacker or off-ball linebacker in that system. That's where stuff can happen in big plays, and chunk yards can happen. Same thing on the flip side, though. With Denzel Perryman out, he wasn't really good in pass coverage anyways, but with Luke Masterson, they like to run the Tampa cover 2. So in a Tampa cover 2, you have the middle of the field underneath defender run all the way back, and that leaves the middle of the field open. So who's going to get open there? That's Christian McCaffrey. Well, once you take away that, now you can pump fake, you can do play action, and then you can throw it deep and chuck it deep to like Jawan Jennings. Jawan Jennings is really fun to watch, by the way. I like Jawan
Third
Jennings.
and Jawan.
Yeah, he's so good. He's so fun to watch. And Matthew Butler, who I just talked about, who's on the Raiders, is like best friends with Jawan, because they played with each other at Tennessee. So they're going to be reunited this week. But no, it's going to be interesting, because at the end of the day, when you have 2 coordinators who are offensive minded like that, it's really hard. So to have success. But at the end of the day, I think it's going to be a game where, like I said, it's going to be an offensive battle, but also a defensive struggle at the same time.
Cool. You guys have any questions?
I do. So I do recall you working out a lot, and your pre-workout routine was to eat candy. Like chocolate and Snickers and carbo load with junk food.
Yeah.
Still your
man.
go-to way to.
And let me add on to that. As a guy that went to Ethel M the first thing this morning to pick up some chocolates.
Yeah,
I need to know more about this.
Yeah,
so what's that about?
So
you can't just eat the chocolate, Ty. You got to go work out afterward.
Yeah, so I'm known to eat whatever I want. But I bodybuild, so I get part of my 9 to 5 outside of being a beat writer for the Raiders and Niners and whatever the case, covering the NFL is. I also bodybuild, so I'm actually going for my pro card on Team Evogen and Omar Ventura. So I've been doing that since 2016. So people, when I work out, it's like my job. You know what I mean? Because I have to win my shows, otherwise I lose sponsorships, and if I don't win my sponsorships, then I'll lose money, right? So. I don't know if you guys know, but Olympia was here in Vegas. It's like the biggest bodybuilding show in the world. And so we took first and second. So getting back to your question, it all depends on my coach. So if my coach says I can eat candy, Kit Kat, Or let's say I'm having a pastry right now. If you guys can see that, I'm eating a pastry right here in the
Wow.
right before I work out. Yeah. So this is what I
whips
do.
out the cheese Danish casually.
Thanks
That's
a lot.
Yes.
I'm going to gain 5 pounds just because
Yes.
I looked at it. Okay.
Now I'm hungry.
Gotta love Costco. So this is what I do. So I'll have this, and then I'll eat this, and then from there, get in my gains. But I always tell people what works for me may not work for you. And again, I burn a lot of calories. Like just to warm up, I'll burn 1,000 calories in less than an hour. And then on the Stairmaster just to get warmed up, and then I start my workout. So it really depends on your lifestyle. It really depends on the foods that you eat. If you're diabetic or anything like that, I wouldn't suggest this, obviously. But there are other things that you can have to kind of make sure that when you hit the gym, you're not losing what's called glycogen depletion. And then because you're glycogen depleted when you work out. And so you need some kind of form of storage carbohydrate to refuel those muscles. And so that's why it's very important to have supplements. People think supplements is a gimmick. It's really not. They really help your muscles grow and help you stay hydrated. So when I see people at the gym drink water, that's like something that you shouldn't do. You should have some BCAAs. And so there's just the whole process of it. And I do post my videos up on YouTube. So people follow me, not just for my football grind, but for my fitness related content. So if it's on Instagram, Instagram's big for fitness. So you can follow me at Beast Rider, or on YouTube, or Facebook, whatever the case may be. I'm all on those other platforms. And it's just something that I come to love, because it's part of my lifestyle. Like I'm building up my home gym here in lovely Las Vegas, and it's been a huge hit here in Vegas. So hopefully I can encourage you guys or inspire someone to kind of live a healthier lifestyle. And I do online coaching and online dieting as well. So all these things come into play in forming the whole Beast Rider brand. And so I don't know, Jess, if but I didn't give myself the name Beast Rider. Like that was given to me by 49er fans back in, I think it was like 2015, when they noticed that I started competing, and then we're known as beat riders. And then they said, no, you're the Beast Rider. And so I didn't even like that because, my family's very Christian, and my mom was very against it. She's like, no, the beast connotates with the devil, so you can't be named Beast Rider. But then the 49ers were like, no, you have to go with what they call you. You cannot go with what they don't call you. And then so there's a whole conversation. One of the 49ers employees had a conversation with my mom, saying, it's okay. It's not what it really means. And so from there, it kind of stuck, and that's how Beast Rider stuck. So yeah, now it just kind of gravitated toward Beast Rider.
Wow, I didn't know that.
I didn't know
That's
that
pretty
story
cool.
either.
Yeah.
That's really
You're
fun.
named by the faithful. That's all.
Yeah,
That's
ESPN
amazing.
Radio actually picked up on it. So ESPN Radio during the Super Bowl run, they caught on to that story and then had me on Radio Row from Super Bowl. Yeah, back in the Kansas City Chiefs and Niners Super Bowl. Yeah.
Good times. Back in the olden days. Let me ask a little bit about the Raiders since you're out there. How much time do you think McDaniels is going to have to turn this thing around and make it into his mold? Because it seems like right now, all those people that probably thought about 6 weeks ago that McDaniels wasn't going to make it through the season, surprised he's going to be able to get rid of a quarterback and choose a replacement by the looks of things.
Yeah,
Good question, Matt.
I think McDaniels has 2 to 3 years. McDaniels is a really good coach, and we're on record. So again, I'm not going to be a flip flop or fake on this. I think GM Dave Ziegler is a top 5 GM. I think the whole dynamic of what I felt when Kyle Shanahan came as the coach with John Lynch, I have that same vibe here with the Las Vegas Raiders. And so I tell people this, just give it some time. You know what I mean? Like you can't expect to go to a startup company and have instant success because 99% of the companies fail. You need to understand that it's going to take all parties involved, and not everyone is going to be involved right away because they're all the humanistic approach in all of us, and me included, is we are reluctant to change. We are only going to do what's comfortable to us, and anything out of that comfort zone is very challenging for us because we're not used to that. It's very foreign to us. So for us to go out of our comfort zone and have a strict regimen when we were doing things the other way and it was working, now it's kind of like, wait, if it's not broke, don't fix it. But at the end of the day, if it's not broke, don't fix it mentality is only getting you so far, but you can have a better option. You're going to have to go that route. So not all people are going to buy into that right away, but I can see the players starting to click and starting to buy into that program. So getting back to your question, I think 3 years tops is what he's going to get. But ultimately, I think in that third year, they're going to really shine.
In addition to that, sorry.
Well, go ahead.
I was going to say, in addition to that, with people being reluctant to, do new things, I know from a fan standpoint, we all want instant gratification.
Yes.
We all want, hey man, you were brought here, you're our guy. We want to see results right away.
Mm-hmm.
From the fan standpoint, do you see the fans being patient enough to wait to year 3 to see results?
I think that's part of my job, right? Is like, the people bring a different aspect from a beat writer perspective. And any NFL team that you cover, I'm going on 13 years now, but you want to really make sure that you bring a certain dynamic because everyone brings a certain competitive advantage about them. For me, my competitive advantage is forward thinking. I like staying 2 steps ahead. I like watching film and building my analysis off of that. And then obviously the mock draft and all that. Staying on top of all 32 teams. But aside from that, I coached. So I know the perspective of what it takes to change a losing program into a winning one and winning at the highest level. I did at Stratford. So when we took a losing program, the parents were all upset because I worked them. I'm not going to sit here and lie. The parents know this. I worked them. Kids would cry. I would send kids crying home. Not because I was hard, being mean to them. I'm not that guy, you know what I mean? But if they're not, I just put it like this: if you're not willing to put in the work, then don't be here, because there's so many other things that I see in you as a player, and you're not living up to the potential because you're goofing off in practice, because you're taking plays off. You can't do that because the moment you lose that hunger for success is the moment you lose that drive as well, right? So like you always want to stay humble, but always be constantly growing and learning. I had this one kid who was a know-it-all, kind of like a egotistical, I'm the best player on the team, I don't have to buy into the program. Well, I sent him home. His parents called me and say, hey, why'd you send my kid home? I let her know, and then had a big talk. And then that kid obviously turned his life around. And in terms of like sports, not like his total life around. I mean, he was a good kid, but from an attitude perspective and just constantly growing and constantly learning, this is what I wanted to instill. So the same thing and the same style comes into me being a beat writer here because I come from a coaching background. Not saying I'm the best coach and what I have to say, because I coach, I know everything, because I don't. No, I don't. I'm not going to sit here and lie and say I do. But I've been around coaching my entire life. And so when you come from that perspective and then you give the fan base something to gravitate toward, and then other coaches follow you, scouts follow you, their family members follow you, there's a reason for that. It's not because you're just shooting fluff, but because you're giving an honest assessment on really what's going on. In order to see it from that type of lens, you have to be in the know in order to know. And so that's what I think I bring to the table, is that kind of authentic engagement.
Awesome. Derek Carr being benched, they look to Jarrett Stidham.
Mm-hmm.
What is your insight for him?
Yeah, I mean, Jared, coincidentally, me and Jared have got along real well. I mean, he's one of the guys I talk to every single day. And I mean, he just talked to me on the way out of the locker room. I mean, he jokes around because he's an Auburn guy. I'm an Alabama guy. So he always joke around about that and says, take off that crappy hat. But no, Jared Stidham, I got to know extremely, extremely well. I liked him when they traded for him. I actually thought that he would be a really, really good backup. He just needed the opportunity. Now, I'm not saying he's going to be a Pro Bowl starting quarterback. What I am saying is he's very kind of like Brock Purdy, right? Very quick and decisive in his decision making, goes through progressions really well, can game manage a football game. He also has sneaky dual threat ability, so he can take off and run. That's something that Derek Carr does not provide. So from that perspective, if I'm an offensive lineman, I'm kind of happy about that, because if I get beat, I know, which, I mean, let's face it, Nick Bosa probably defensive player of the year. But so if you have Nick Bosa on one side, he's like wrecking havoc. It's like, man, I'm just going to let Nick Bosa go because I can't stop him. And then they'll leave that run fit integrity open, and that can just run shoot that gap once in a while. So from that perspective, I like what Jarrett Stidham brings to the table. He's very accurate on all three levels. The deep ball can get kind of shaky, but at the end of the day, I liked what I saw from training camp. I think Jarrett Stidham, to me, if you were to ask me if he could be a starting quarterback in the NFL, I would kind of be 50-50 on that. But if you were asking me if he would be a viable starter where you can win 2 to 3 games in a pinch, like this scenario, I say absolutely. If they weren't playing the 49ers every week, obviously that type of caliber team. But no, I really like what Jarrett Stidham brings to the table. Very smart, very savvy, unquestioned work ethic. I really like the guy.
Okay, so you told us he's mobile. That's something to look out for. What are his favorite passes to throw? Does he like in-breaking routes?
It's a combination of things, right? So like Coach McDaniels will base it off the cover shell that's being whatever team likes to run. So if it's a man coverage concept, it really depends. You guys got to remember, Darren Waller and Hunter Renfrow were out for the majority of the year. So for them to come back and be healthy with Devontae Adams, they really didn't have that nucleus to form that foundational core, so they can be all parties can be on the same page. That's why I think it's really important. And to get to your question, it's really hard to give you a direct answer because I haven't seen enough sample size with all three guys on the same field. Because let's face it, Foster Moreau is nowhere near Darren Waller's level. Mac Hollins is nowhere near Hunter Renfrow's level.
Yeah.
So for the route concepts to be dictated by the down and distance that's being applied based on what you're seeing on film, it really is different. And so I can't really give you a definite answer other than Devontae Adams is going to be Devontae Adams. He has a two-way go. He can do anything he wants off the line of scrimmage, uses that hop stick very well, and he will get open against D'Lo Lenore and at Samuel Womack. You guys still have Samuel Womack back there, right? Number 26. Yep. And so I think he's going to take advantage. Charvarius Ward, I know there's a lot of hype on him, but I'm not as high on him as others. I'm just saying it. But I think he's a viable starter. I like what he brings to the table. I'm just not high on Charvarius Ward, so he's going to have his hands full. Now watch him have 3 interceptions. But
and I hope you and then we want you to come back on.
Thank
okay?
you for saying that.
Yeah.
And we're gonna replay this.
Yeah.
Taking the candlestick dirt.
Yeah, there you go. But no, Talanoa Hufanga is a guy who I really think that can really be the key. And I talked about that with Mac Hollins today on specifically Talanoa Hufanga, because in my opinion, in my grading system, he's the best safety in the NFL, hands down. Free safety, strong safety, doesn't matter. So I was really surprised that he wasn't named the starter and Budda Baker was, just because he's a household name. But getting back to your question, I'm really eager to see how they play the 49ers, because at the end of the day, to be honest with you, I don't think the 49ers are going to give Jarrett Stidham that much time, and this Raiders offensive line is not the best.
Well, that's definitely good to know. Now, you mentioned Devontae Adams. You think he's upset because of the whole Derek Carr issue?
Oh yeah, we had a chance to talk to him today. He's pretty low key to begin with, but you can tell the frustration. And me being around locker rooms, I sense certain dynamics. Right during the Tomsula era, during the Harbaugh era, during the Shanahan era, you can kind of sense Chip Kelly. You sense the type of vibe, right? And so I stepped foot inside that locker room and I just felt like, oh crap, like this is not, you could hear a pin drop. It's almost like this. When you hear me talk and no one, you can literally hear every outside noise. That's what you heard when you stepped in foot that locker room. So I know for a fact players were not happy with this move. But I always say it like this, if you listen to the players and what they want, instead of doing what you feel is right and best for the team in the long term, as you talk about instant gratification, we talk about the long-term gains, it really does no justice for you as a coach, because at the end of the day, you're always going to try to appease the players. Well, sometimes being a good coach is not appeasing the players, but just doing what you feel is the right thing to do.
Okay. And last one for me, what is your final score?
Oh, geez. The Raiders are going to score. I'm joking. The Raiders are going to score. Coach Graham is really good at scheming things up. Coach Graham is a really good coach, but I think he's going to do some interesting things with the cover shells. But I would have to say 27-17, 27-13. Yeah, something like that.
Actually, and who's your winner?
I know. You didn't say who.
Oh, come on, man.
Come on, who's your winner?
It's the Niners. I have the Niners winning. I know I always keep it 100 one way or the other. And that's why I think people follow me, is because I do keep it 100. So when I never once, I hate people. Oh, they're going to go 17-0. I was like, no, man, like that ain't happening. But I think a 20. The Niners could easily score 30 points, but I just think from college, I think Niners are going to jump to a double-digit lead. I think they're going to try to protect that, which is going to keep the low-scoring game, because at the end of the day, once you jump to a 2-digit lead, you know how Kyle Shanahan likes to do things. That's to chew up clock time, and so I think once they have that, they're going to establish that early. Yeah,
we were just talking about that earlier.
Oh, okay.
Maddie was just talking about that earlier.
Yeah.
Awesome.
All right, cool, Ryan. Anybody else?
Yeah, we're good, man.
All right, thank Ryan Sakamoto, beast writer for the Raiders. Thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it, and hopefully we'll have you back on down the road.
Oh yeah, definitely. I'm always open to hopping back. Thank you, Jess. You've been a huge supporter since day one. I totally remember you. When you messaged me, you're like, I'm not sure if you remember. Of course I remember you. Of course I remember you. Yeah.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that, Ryan.
Thank you,
All right.
Ryan.
Thank you so much, guys. You guys have a good one.
Thank you.
All right, take care.
Peace.
Bye. Ryan Sakamoto. Awesome. I love
That's
Ryan.
right. Yeah, he's a cool dude.
So he had a lot of cool things to say. What did you guys think?
You know, I
I
thought a
was,
lot about it.
Oh, go ahead, Matt.
You know, I thought a lot about it, but I wanted to think about one more thing before we thought any more about that. Okay. I wanted to think about the last 8 years in IE Sports Radio. Okay. And what they've done as they've been bringing amazing content, ranging from interviewing folks like Ryan, who we just had on, to other legendary athletes and building tailor-made shows that are dedicated to all the major sports cities around the country. And there are quite a few sports cities around the country now. And of course, it's continued to be by the fans, for the fans. And with your help, they're ready to take that next step. You can go to iesportsradio.com. You can see the Patreon link with 5 different tiers. And the first one starts at just $5 a month. That donation gets you shout outs on all the shows. Higher tiers include IE Sports Radio merchandise, access to Podcaster U, even a chance to be featured on a segment of our flagship show, The Defining Moment. Thank you very much for continuing to make IE Sports Radio your direct feed for all that is sports. Back to Ryan. He's got an interesting perspective on this, and I like the fact that he sees the vibe with the Raiders being similar to that of the beginning of the 49ers era. The 49ers record at that time was not that great, but they were pretty much in every game as they started off with it. And then last year, I think they made the playoffs by overachieving. The team that you've kind of got right now is kind of the team you had last year. And I think McDaniel's realizing what he had, and now he can kind of move on from there.
Yeah, I was just going to say that I thought it was peculiar or interesting the way he compared the GM situation in Las Vegas to John Lynch and Niners and that specific vibe that he thinks their new GM is bringing to the organization. So I was intrigued by that a little.
Yeah, I thought he did. It was an interesting perspective, like just doing both teams.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it gives you insight, so he can see that dual relationship and that synergy between coach and GM that he brought to light, and how the locker room vibe is. So it helps you clearly understand, what the Raiders are going through, what they're trying to achieve, and where they may get to. You never know.
The one thing he didn't bring up was the Josh Jacobs situation. They didn't pick up his last year, and looks like he's probably going to be done in Oakland.
Yep.
Or I keep wanting to say Oakland, Las Vegas.
Yeah.
Oakland, Los Angeles, Las Vegas. Let's just go through all of them, because
Yeah.
I've been watching a lot of the 84, 88 seasons. Like, let's go play the Raiders in LA. So yeah,
LA, right?
Yeah, but Jacobs, I saw that interview he did. He was not happy.
No.
They're going to run him into the ground for the next 2 games, man. And he knows
exactly.
that.
Yep.
It's not like he can say, don't play me, because then he's going to tank his own free agent value.
Yeah,
he's completely over the barrel in this case. I'd be so pissed if I was Josh Jacobs. So pissed. So you don't want me here. You're going to beat the crap out of me all year long. And now you're going to bench the starting quarterback, which is also going to piss off the star wide receiver that you traded the picks for.
Mm-hmm.
This seems like kind of a hot mess, right?
It
at
does.
the end of the
How's
day.
that feel?
I don't know how much of a teardown this is going to end up being, because I don't know if, who are you going to – Adam's going to stick around for Tom Brady
there? It definitely has the
there?
feel of a dumpster fire, that's for sure.
It does. And that's the one thing that's different from when Kyle and John took over to us now. I mean, it was nothing but, okay, we're going this way. this way, this way. There was never a feeling of, oh, we don't know what we're doing.
Right, because at one point we had 2 remaining starters on the last Super Bowl roster left when Lynch and Shanahan took over. They completely gutted everything and started rebuilding the whole team.
Yep.
Yeah.
It was always brick by brick, not brick by brick, and then we're going to tear down a few bricks and then add a couple more.
Yeah.
Right?
Like, oh,
Right? It was always brick by brick.
Hit them with a hammer, make little bricks out of the big bricks.
Right.
Yeah.
There was no breakdown. Yeah. This wasn't like Mario. Like it wasn't. Yeah. Different. You know. It was always brick by brick. I feel like it's not quite as linear with the Raiders at this point.
Yep.
I agree, and at least he kind of, you know, I felt he was an awesome guest because he really kind of just, besides a different perspective, just what we might see on Sunday, you know, so that little insight there, which was cool. All right. Offensive keys for the game. Becca, go ahead.
Rebecca.
Ooh, offensive keys for us. I mean, I think we have to run the ball. We're going to just need to run on them and own the time of possession, you know, manage the game clock. I believe I was trying to see if I had written down. They're like 13th in the pass. Well, we'll see what they do this week. But they're not good against the run is my they're like 24th, 25th against the run. So I think we're going to have a you know, who said it earlier, 200-yard rushing game. That's probably what we're going to see. Some really, really just all day pounding of the rock and taking advantage of that. And especially if you have players who are not happy and not out there looking to give their 100% effort, I think the Raiders are going to melt down on Sunday.
Maddie, go ahead.
Yeah, that's a really good point, and I think it's a really good time to get TDP a lot of his run, right? A lot of his downhill running, learning how to do the cutbacks. I think this is going to be, you know, a huge situation for him. I would love to see them do the 40 rushes game, you know, 40 carries, 225, 230 yards. That's what I would love to see in this game. Just to kind of remind folks that yes, the 49ers can still run the football, so that people are continuing to have to stack up for that. And you need to win here, and you need to win next week. Like, I'm sorry, odds are the way everything's shaken out, it's all going to come down to that final week for seeding. And I would love to see this team, if they can happen to fall into a number 1 seed, great. Before, if they could fall into a number 2 seed, I'm feeling real good about them having 3 home playoff games right now.
Yep. I think
I definitely prefer the 2 seed as the 1 seed. I don't think the first round bye would benefit us. In my opinion, I just think we're playing real good complementary football. And I think we just need to keep it rolling. But I think offensively, I think we have to start fast. Last game, I didn't like the way we started, you know, and like I mentioned earlier, the red zone woes. I don't think we'll have that this week. But again, I don't want to also overlook the Raiders. But yeah, offensively, I think we really have to start fast, whether that's, you know, the run game, you know, the pass game. We have to get it together there. Go ahead, Ty.
Yeah, I'm with Rebecca. I think we run the ball. I know teams want to come out and stop the run like Washington did last week. But even within that scenario, we still ran for 125 yards as a team on them, which is a good day. And I specifically asked Ryan the question of, you know, them losing Chandler, them losing Perriman in the middle, who are their kind of like 2 run stoppers. They rotate the defensive line kind of like we do. So who's going to fill that void? And as you saw, he's like, they really don't have anybody to fill that void. It's not like a next man up like we have, where other guys can step in and kind of do it. So I think we should take like a kind of similar game plan to what we did with Seattle, where we just continue to pound the rock on them. And, you know, don't try to get too exotic with it. Just pound the rock and wear them down to where the end of the game we can bust something and, you know, rotate those backs in there, whether it's TDP, Mason, And, in addition to McCaffrey, just get him in there, get him
Mhm.
wearing that defense down. And then that's going to set up big things in the passing game.
Yeah.
I really think, they're going to be inching up to try to do some things. And then your guy, George Kittle, they're going to be like, all right, stay in, pretend you're blocking,
Look at our
and then
smile.
leak out. And he's the master at it. Like, oh, I'm blocking you. No, I'm not. I'm out there. Boom.
Jazz hands.
That's right. We'll see him smiling into the end zone. I love it.
Brian says, I don't want the team to rest players, maybe rotate more often. Well,
Yes,
Kyle
that's-
said today that it's hard to rest players because they're going all year, but they're definitely going to monitor them.
We saw that some in the Washington game.
Yep.
Where he was definitely rotating guys more. We saw a TDP get in there and
Mhm.
get carries early in the game, not just in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
So you saw how he was spelling McCaffrey and not using him as much, to wear him down. And we saw how the defensive line, those guys were flying in and out. You didn't see Bosa out there all game or Armstead. So he was definitely keeping guys fresh, and I like that.
I like that too. I think it's better than just saying like, hey, you're not going to play today. You know what I mean? Like, I just, people expect him to do that. And I really, those Fire Kyle people are going to come right out of the woodwork if he sees them playing more, if they see them playing more than, they think they should.
No. McCaffrey gets 5 snaps. Fire Kyle, he's wearing them down.
Yeah.
Where are we playing the starters?
Yeah.
So how about defensively? What do you guys think needs to happen? Go ahead, Ty.
I think we just pressure, like we always say, pressure. Pressure Stidham. It's his first action, and he's not going to be used to this line. Him practicing against the Raiders line versus our line is 2 different practice scenarios. So practice him. I think a key maybe to take away Renfro, which would be his security blanket underneath, doing that stuff he likes to do, just sit in the hole in the zones and work his magic in there, is to take away him. And of course, you gotta keep eyes on Jacobs because he's a big run waiting to happen. Yeah. Which I trust the run defense so much that I don't see him as a priority. He's just something that we do. We take care of running backs. But in the pass game, it's to get that little guy Renfro covered.
Is Nick Bosa going to tie Alvin Smith's sack record?
I would say yeah.
Yep, I think so.
I would say yeah. I would see Steady holding on the ball too long, trying to make some things happen, and Nick's going to get him.
Yep.
Nick's going to get him.
What do you think, Matty?
I could see a lot of that as well. I could see not just Bosa getting some sacks. I could see that whole line getting some sacks.
Mm-hmm.
Stidham's also really he's a guy who can get the ball batted down at the line a lot, as long as the hands are pretty active too and up in the air. So this should be a really good game for this team to get their confidence back. And I really like anything over 3rd and 7, man, like should not be converted this week. Like there's no excuse for it. There's absolutely no excuse for any 3rd and longs to get done this week. I don't want to hear about breakdown in coverage. I don't want to see players pointing at each other during that time frame. It's the Raiders with a backup quarterback. And the reason they're working a backup quarterback is because they don't want the starting quarterback to actually get an injury guarantee next year. This is literally a business decision game for them. They've already got the receipts from all the tickets for this game from the 49ers fans. So 49ers fans have actually funded the ability for the Raiders to say, okay, screw it. Sit your ass down, David Carr.
Yeah,
right? At
that.
the end of the day, they funded this. Like this is what has been done here. So perfect. Go ahead and make it happen. This is what Super Bowl teams go out and do. They go out and they take care of the teams that they're supposed to take care of. But more importantly, they take care of them in such a way that you're not like, man, they really struggled with them for a while, didn't they? Right? They don't do that play down to your competition crap. This team seems to have done a lot better of not doing that, particularly since the early part of the year. Hoping that continues this week and really continues on to next week. But we'll talk about next week.
Yep.
So Tracy Sandler had tweeted, per Kyle Shanahan, Deebo Samuel's making good progress and has a chance to return to practice actually tomorrow, depending on how his workout was today. James Arthur got his cast off, but no further updates. Kerry Hyder should be back at practice this week, and Elijah Mitchell is also progressing well. If Elijah Mitchell and Deebo are ready to come back for these last 2 games, do you play them? Or do
Not
you
this
save
week,
them?
but next week. Next week.
I think you give them a couple reps if they're able to play, just to start to work them back into football mode, but nothing significant.
Yeah, I agree with Becca 100%. And Matt, for that matter. This week, they're definitely not playing. Next week, just give them a couple of plays here and there throughout the game, just to, get some game speed going, get their juices going, and that's it. Especially we see how these 2 teams are banged up, injured.
Mm-hmm.
Our backups are clearly better than their backups. Like, it should be a game where we can rest them, per se, by giving them just a few reps.
I think that we should save Elijah Mitchell for the playoffs, given the fact that he is a tad bit fragile. And as far as Deebo,
Either way.
Yeah.
what's that?
And unlucky.
Fragile, unlucky. I like to say
Yeah.
unlucky because we don't really know. Like,
That's true.
He has been
doesn't
unlucky.
follow
His
that.
injuries have been occurred like in a weird way, where like as soon as his leg plants, some guy comes in and hits him at the exact moment.
Yeah.
It's just
Freaky stuff like that. It's like,
So that's why I'm like, it's like it's like the Jimmy stuff, right? Every time Jimmy gets in, there's some weird ass thing that happens, right? Like he breaks his foot. Like, how do you?
Someone's
Right? Like,
off of something that looked like it happened in a second. And
it happened
it's
in
weird.
on grass. What do we scream about all the time? It happened that turf, yeah. Well, it happens on grass this time. What do we got? Nothing, right?
All he had to do was fall to the ground.
Yeah.
Right. He held on.
All he had
too
to
long.
do.
Wait, hold on. Let's go back to the ACL injury, where he was simply running out of bounds. He didn't go out of bounds as quickly as he should have, but he planted his leg and his AC popped.
Yeah, to go up
His
the field.
ACL
Yeah.
popped. It's like,
All he had
And
to
then
do
there was
was
the
run
high
straight
ankle
out of
sprain
bounds.
that basically ruined his season in 2020, right? Like,
yeah, like
most high ankle sprains are like annoying for a few weeks, but then like you're back in a few
4
weeks.
weeks.
With his, it was like
the whole season.
like it was kind of like that was it. Like, thanks for
Yep.
playing, a good night.
Yeah,
So
weird stuff.
when it comes to that stuff, like we just don't know. I like your thoughts on Mitchell being saved to the playoffs because I thought he looked
about to say
pretty
the same
good
thing.
when he came back. Like when he came back from being cold, like he jumped right into it.
Yeah.
I'd still like to see him shake that rust off before the playoff game because sometimes that playoff intensity is a little bit more amped, and I could see him taking that first hit and fumble going all up in the air. And
that's what I'm saying. Just give him a few reps, get the speed of the game, get some adrenaline going, and be like, okay, this is some
Remember
action.
what it's like to get hit.
And then we're ready for
And
the next week.
I think Deebo should be on a pitch count though. Like him,
High
I think,
pitch count.
yeah.
Yeah.
Just to, get just as far as like game shape,
Yeah, I wouldn't use him in the run game at all. It'd be strictly the pass game. No end rounds, no handoffs, nothing. You're strictly
none
the
of that.
pass game.
No
That's
running up the middle. Let's make Jerry
Yep.
Rice happy.
Nope.
Okay, can we make Jerry Rice happy this week?
Right.
Please.
Yep.
Love
They're
God.
going to get about
Deebo,
5
don't
to
cut
6
back when
targets, and that's
they
it.
take the edge. You're not allowed to cut back either.
No,
so.
don't cut back. You just run out of bounds. You just veer it out there, and you
Just
get
keep going.
Take the
He's
loss.
not even running at all. Like
You
you're
can
gonna
run
the ball
directly
on
to
the
the
outside.
bench
That's
after that play, as far as I'm concerned. Just
Get
take
on
care
your
of it.
bicycle and ride.
Yeah.
So last one for me. Who were your players on offensive defense that have to have a big game. Go ahead, Becca.
Oh, no, we're gonna let someone else go first because I have to think about it for a second. I didn't think about
Becca
it.
was
ahead,
like,
Maddie.
we were at the restaurant, and she was like, the waitress asked her first what we wanted, and she was like, I don't know. Like,
I'm always
she decided
last
between the
because I'm
Caesar and
modifying
the-
something.
Right, like you're trying to figure in your head what you want to take away.
Yeah, yeah.
Same deal.
Who am I gonna
To me, it's Christian McCaffrey. The offense runs and breathes and dies through Christian McCaffrey at this point, right? If he has a good game and he is averaging over 4.5 yards a rush, everything else should be pretty open, and chains should keep moving. And George Kittle can get touchdowns, and Kyle Juszczyk can get touchdowns, and Brandon Ayuk can get touchdowns, and Ray McLeod can get touchdowns. Like, to me, it all circles around Christian McCaffrey. If he has a good game, the offense has a good game, we win and leave.
I agree with you 100%. And like I always say, all good things happen when we get George Kittle the ball. That too.
You said
Go ahead,
that
Ty.
before?
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I think this could be my first time saying it. I don't know.
Consistency. Consistency. Yes.
Yep.
That's it. That's
Yes.
the hot take, Jess. I don't know. I don't know if we've
That's
thought
right.
about
You heard it here
I actually burned my hand on that take. It was so hot.
On offense, we said on offense. For me, it's the Jawan Jennings, the Ray McLeods, and the TDP Jordan Masons. We know what the starters are going to do, and I think at certain points they're going to be looking to take them away and ignore like Jennings and Mason when they're out there, and for those guys to just pick up the slack, show what they can do more, and have a bigger role in a game like this. Wait, go ahead, Matt. You was going to say something?
I just have a very quick piggyback on that with Jennings. I really want to see him come back after that, like this week.
That weird bobble.
I would like to see
that
him have a
volleyball
confidence
move.
boost, a bounce back. Like,
Yeah.
and you can blame that on Purdy for it being a little bit behind or not, but either way, like, I'd like to see him kind of bounce back from that, jump back, catch it, have it be. What does Bill Walsh talk about in that highlight? You catch it out in front, he can run with it. In that case, he kind of had to bring it back in. So Jennings took a lot of crap for that, but I didn't think that was a great throw by Purdy. So I'd like to see him get some clutch catches this week and kind of get back on track because he's going to be key to this team moving forward.
That's one of those plays where it was just bad execution on both parties.
Yeah.
Like the ball was a little bit behind them. Jennings tried to corral it, but in trying to corral it, he batted it 4 yards in front of him to the safety. Like it was the worst possible scenario on a pass play. So yeah, Jennings took a lot of heat, but Purdy gets some for that as well. I was going to say on defense, for me, it's the continuous rotation of the backup players on the defensive line, just holding things down, which keeps the Overcams, the Armsteads, and the Bosas fresh, so that when they need to come in on, the rush down situations and key situations, they're there to make plays. I think that was a huge part of the win in Washington, how we stopped them on the goal line and on the fourth down play in the middle of the field, how those guys just came in fresh and was able to plug things in. And also for me, the safeties. I think the safeties can't jump things this week. They really got to be on their P's and Q's, especially with a guy like Devontae Adams, because we know he can take off and get long and get you a quick, easy touchdown if you blow a coverage.
Go ahead, Becca.
Ty took my defensive key there, which was
Because
whoever
we're of the same mind.
Do not, no big plays. We can't give up those big plays. But on the offensive side, I'm going to go with your boy McGlinchey. He's got to stop the stupid stuff. Like he needs to have just an okay game.
First time his name has been mentioned today.
No, none of these.
So close to getting out of here without a Mike McGlinchey shot. Here it is.
Almost
So
made it.
close.
Okay,
We
so
almost made it.
Wait,
But yeah, we can't.
What was that? What was with that one play where he just slowly rocked back? What was that?
And then Jess Mike McGlinchey defending himself. I'm like, for what?
Yeah.
You did stupid
I had to
stuff.
send that. I thought it was funny.
Oh, that's
So
hilarious.
yes, we can't have like those kind of
Ooh.
penalties getting in the way of our progress. Otherwise, everyone already name dropped all of the offensive people that need to have good games, and like that's a given.
Yeah, I think defense, I'm with Ty on this one. Like with the rotation, and the rotation's been working pretty well. Brian says CMC, Kittle rotate players in the third quarter, play smart football.
Yeah.
We don't need hero ball, that's for sure.
Definitely don't. Definitely don't.
Number 69 gets re-signed. Everyone is saying
I'm
it.
saying that.
Well, they said that last year with Laken Tomlinson. Remember, Laken Tomlinson was coming back all last year. Laken Tomlinson will be back literally
Let him
day
walk.
one of free agency. He was gone to the Jets. Mike McGlinchey will not be back with the 49ers next year. I would bet my life on it. Legitimately, he will get signed by Miami, the Jets, the Packers. I could see him being a Packer. Like the Packers need to like one of these teams, or the Colts. One of those teams that wants to upend their line will see that somebody from the 49ers is a free agent, and they will overpay for him. I promise you the 49ers will not overpay for Mike McGlinchey. I promise you.
I could see him being a Packer.
He will make
next
his
year.
money.
Yep. Are you coming out to Vegas for the game?
That's the plan, but as you see with flight things, like I don't want to jinx anything, but the plan is to fly out Sunday morning and fly back Sunday night. So fingers crossed.
I was going to say, if not, Ty and I will check the over/under on the McGlinchey bet. We'll all have to throw some money down on Mike McGlinchey.
I'll stop at New Hampshire on the way to the airport.
Let's do that.
We can do
on
the
the
same
Mike
thing.
McGlinchey re-signing.
Yeah, I'm not kidding. Like I don't think he's coming back. He's just the offensive line market right now. If you go and look, whether it's there or Cincinnati or Indianapolis, there's so many teams right now that need offensive linemen. The first thing they do is they look to the market guys, guards, tackles, whoever. Joe Thuney making all that money going to Kansas City a couple of years ago. That's craziness. Craziness. Like, but that's what these guys do, right? So McGlinchey's going to be a big name who played for a big-time college program and then played in an offense that a lot of people run around the league. He will be overvalued, overpaid, and somebody will fill in behind him. I promise you guys. With this, we're getting towards the end of the Mike McGlinchey era, so no matter how you feel about it, there'll be a new number 69 next year.
Wait, I think
so. I shouldn't buy the jersey.
No,
you can. I just wouldn't get a McGlinchey name on the back, right?
Maybe
get your name on. Do like what I do and put my custom name on the back, because then I can be that guy. Yes.
Yeah.
There's too many of those guys out there with the 69 jersey already.
Yes, exactly.
You'll be able to get that jersey
That's
on
very
sale
true.
next year. And I think this regime has their right tackle of the future already in mind. I think it's one of these guys on the roster that they're like, all right, this guy here, he's going to be that right tackle next year.
I do agree. All right. So if there is nothing else, let's go to that hurry up offense and the 2-minute warning.
Rebecca, go.
Ooh, I'm up first. Well, it's almost New Year's, so everybody take a moment to reflect on the past year, what went well, what didn't go well, where you think you can improve, set some goals, go out, achieve some things for next year, and of course, go Niners. We have a Super Bowl to look forward to, and that is on the bucket list for me. Let's do it. Go Niners.
Go ahead, Maddie.
We've got 6 more games left this year, okay? That's what it really boils down to at the end of it. You've got 2 more regular season games, and you got 4 more playoff games. Savor every single one of them, no matter where they are, but it's looking like most of them are going to be at home outside of the trip to Phoenix that we're all going to have to take. So do we get a van for that? A bus? I don't know how that's going to work. We're going to have to figure that one out. But regardless, enjoy this ride, because the ride that's upcoming looks like it's going to be pretty great.
Let me jump in here because I was going to say the exact same thing. 6 games left. They're all looking to be at home. And if you think about Phoenix, that was our home in 2020. So it's kind of like we're at home the rest of the way.
Mhm.
This is such an exciting time to be a Niners fan. Enjoy it, and Happy New Year to everybody.
Faithful, enjoy the ride. Let's save the controversy and all that talk for next year, even the Fire Kyle stuff for next year. Just enjoy it. This stuff, it's the NFL. This stuff doesn't come around too often, but luckily for us, we've been pretty lucky with it. But again, enjoy the ride. Happy New Year, Ryan Sakamoto. Thank you again for joining us. We really appreciate the insight. And go Niners.
Go Niners.
Just in time. Look at that.
Woo-hoo.
Bang, bang.
Bang, bang.
And of course, for the upstart 49ers, they're 6 yards away from Pontiac. 3rd and 3.
We'll see a pickup sometime on the right side, possibly.
Montana looking, throwing in the end zone.